Episode 74, Cosmic Ordering. Introducing Jo Gladstone on the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. With me, your host, Martin Colton. Got notes on you, Jo?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I've got mental notes. Do people bring a little booklet with notes?
No, just me. Just me and the notebook. I've got notebooks on I've got notes on everyone.
Ah.
Yeah. We'll see where we are. So, Jo Gladstone.
Have we started?
We started.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
That's okay. Welcome.
It's really cool.
Yeah, we're in the space now. So I've started something new with this podcast recently.
Right.
I'm asking people to describe themselves in 3 words before they jump on. And I got from you resilient, positive and reflective.
Absolutely.
Nice. Let's see if we can find out what they mean,
Okay.
those words to Jo today. So before we start, there's a little tradition as well
Okay.
that's happening with this. You know the tradition, don't you? Because you've
I don't know
heard a
if I
couple.
do. I have heard a couple, but I
You've
can't
heard a
remember
couple.
what
So
the
they're not on
tradition is.
every one, and what's happening is people are going, oh, you didn't do that with me.
Right,
All
okay.
it is after 3, we give a little clap. So we go 1, 2, 3, clap. That's all it is.
Like
And
an audience clap? Or
Just one clap.
Oh, one clap.
Okay,
Yep. Okay.
1, 2, 3, and we're in. That is the official start to the podcast.
Okay.
So here we are. Thank you, Jo. So
You're most welcome.
what's going on with you in your life at the moment?
Well,
What's happening in Jo's world?
in my creative life or my work life or with
Personal
everything?
life?
Personal life, everything.
What's happening right now? How are things?
Things are good. I steered away from making New Year's resolutions a long time ago. I made a resolution not to ever make any more resolutions.
Okay.
And I stuck to that for a very long
That's a
time.
good one to
So
start
I've
with.
broken it this year because I've decided to be a lot more positive about things. I think it's really easy to get bogged down in negativity. And once you start jumping on that bandwagon and getting in those conversations and things, it kind of spirals, you know, and you kind of find yourself in a world of negativity. And I've been reading a lot over the last 6 months about the law of attraction and manifesting and whether it will make me a millionaire or not, who knows. But I think the most important thing is happiness, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm really focusing on me at the moment, and my family, my daughters in particular, and their mental health and well-being, and my own, because I think if I get those things right, then everything else will fall into place.
Yes, definitely. There definitely is with negativity and positivity a spiral up and a spiral down, isn't there?
Definitely.
And there's like a little bit in between, maybe. But I definitely see it as like a slow curve, and then you go all of a sudden you go straight up into positivity, or the same with negativity, you can go straight down, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's everything from social media. So I'll see a negative post about, I don't know, parking around Sawbridgeworth, or someone complaining about their builder or something. And it's very easy to jump on and have a say. And then you think you're absorbing yourself in that negative thought process.
Yeah.
So I just ignore it now.
Yeah.
And anyone who comes up that's too negative in my feed, I just think I don't need this in my life. I need to get involved and absorbed in the more positive stuff.
You do, yeah.
And I've started to see things that, you know, maybe if something goes wrong, it's not quite going to plan, it's coming more natural now. Like I'm laughing about it or seeing a point to it, or you know, if there's
That's hard to get to that place, isn't it? It's not.
It's hard work.
It's not just a decision, is it? It's not just you wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to be positive.
No.
And you take them things. I saw something on social media the other day that upset me. Someone said something that was a little bit of a dig against the podcast.
Ugh.
And I was like, it was. What do you call it when they don't do it directly? It was like indirectly.
Yeah.
Indirectly is the
Passive
word.
aggressive. Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And about one of my guests that were on here. But when I stepped back for, like, at first I was upset for about an hour, but then when I stepped back, I was like, actually, I'll let them just get on. They can just do what they want to do. It's not going to affect me in any way, shape or form. And I said that to the person that was the guest. I said, look, just don't let it affect you, because what does it matter?
Yeah.
You don't need to get involved with this. Let them do their thing, say their thing, and they can just crack on.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't have to be in my life at all.
No. And I found a big thing that I really trained myself to do a little while back is not respond to something straight away. Something that hits me personally or I feel really sensitive about. sometimes I'll type it out, like whether it's an email or a text, but I won't press send.
Oh, Joe, 100%. This is what I did the other day. I actually went into my notes and typed the reply.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
In my notes, in my phone, and it didn't go out, but it nearly did. It was nearly this thing of like, oh, you can unfollow me, oh, blah, 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 don't you dare, don't, all that. And then it's gone.
Yeah, well, you've put it out in the universe,
yes.
So you've said what you needed to say, but without the repercussions that might come if you do send it. And then I think if a day later you're still feeling that strongly, the emotion might be gone. So you can maybe reword it or approach it in a different way, so you can get a better result by taking a bit more time over it
and work out if it matters.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because like, what did that?
A lot of it doesn't. Yeah,
it doesn't matter at all.
It really doesn't. So that's my number one focus this year. So, you know, like I said, I've been reading a lot about manifesting and gratitude as well. So someone who I admire very much spoke to me recently about an app, 3 Good Things. And so at the end of every day, no matter how shocking you think your day has been, there's always going to be 3 good things that happened or that you can be grateful for. And if you can't think of anything else, it's that you've got your health, if you have. You know, you've got the roof over your head, you've got your cosy bed to sleep in at the end of the day, or, you know, your cats came up to you for a cuddle or anything, you know. And sometimes it will be really big things that happened and made you feel amazing. And sometimes it's just stepping back and appreciating what you have got despite the whirlwind of chaos that your day might have been.
Yeah, because they are there, them moments. They are there for
absolutely.
All of us. The more I think we have to train our brain as well, don't we? We have to train our brain to seek the positive, or we'd also train it again to seek the negative, and it goes in that direction, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And you do find, I don't know if you've read anything about the law of attraction.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah.
And it's so true. Like little signs keep coming to you, like, God, yeah, this really does work, you know. Yes, and and it's that mindset, and it's, I suppose, if you're really down and out, if you're going through the worst possible time, it's really hard to pick yourself up, isn't it, and look for those moments of gratitude and things. But I'm a huge believer in it.
Yes.
Huge believer in it. And opportunities start opening up for you, like you asking me to do this. I thought, that's an opportunity, you know, to something I'm sure we'll come on to later. And then people start getting in contact with you that you haven't spoken to for ages, and you start opening your eyes and being aware of things around you that can make things happen or take your life in the direction that you want it to go in. So, are
you religious or spiritual in any way?
That's a tricky question. I grew up as Christian. I went to church, went to Sunday school as a child. In my adulthood, I've always said I'm an atheist, you know, but I don't think that's strictly true. I think I'm probably quite agnostic, you know. I believe there's something.
Yeah, because when it comes to the law of attraction and you're trying to put things out there into the universe, yeah, you're kind of saying there is something more,
definitely,
to this life than as we see it.
And the guru that I've been listening to a lot lately, he's very spiritual, and he calls it God. He said, but you don't have to call it God. You know, you ask the universe for help, and there's an abundance of everything out there, and you just need to ask for that help. And I think I like that. I call it the universe. You know, some people call it God or whatever, but I think it would be really naive to think that there's nothing else. It's like this place, isn't it? You know, it's well known for being haunted and spirits, and I think if you embrace that and you accept it, I don't know, you just open your mind to a whole other world, really. You know, so much more than just what you think is out there. So
definitely,
yeah, I think spiritual's a good word. Religious, not so much. I don't dislike religion. I appreciate them all. I respect them all. It's one of my favourite things to teach at school. I'm a primary school teacher, as you know, and but they all have the same message. No matter what the religion, they all have the same core values of treat each other kindly. You know, what you put out there, you get back, and you know, the messages in each religion is the same as, you know, they're all the same as Christianity at their core.
It's almost like at points throughout history, we've sort of discovered and known as humans there is something more, and there is something to giving and receiving and the gratitude and the asking and putting out the positivity. we've kind of known that and
Yeah.
structured it in different ways throughout history, haven't we? I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the stories of, the sayings like you reap what you sow, and it's so true, isn't it? Karma, whatever you want to call it. It's I don't know. There's something bigger out there, and I think you've got to use it to your advantage rather than keep feeding it negativity.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that with this podcast journey that I'm on, because oh my god, it's been a journey. Like it's bizarre as well.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's,
In what ways?
In the sense of where I was just before I started doing this.
Right.
I was a very lost individual. Didn't know, midlife crisis, we call it that. Yeah, didn't know what I was doing or where I was going, and trying to assess all the places that I'd been, and over assessing all the failures that I'd had, not looking at the successes.
Which it's easy to do, isn't it?
Which is easy to do. Like I say, it was a downward spiral on the negativity.
Yeah.
And then I had this quiet little period, and then this started up.
How did you get the idea for this?
I've always, since podcasts have been quite popular in the last 5 or 6 years, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
And I really enjoy listening to them. I really enjoy listening to, there's two people in particular, Jay Shetty, and I enjoy listening to Rick Rubin as well. Both of their podcasts are brilliant. Listened to I find them very engaging within my mind, the things that they're talking about, the subjects. I would rather listen to that on a car journey than music sometimes. Music's got its place. I love it. Yeah. But I've got a very busy brain. Yeah. And so for my brain, it's better sometimes to have some conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I got into listening to audiobooks about 2 years ago, maybe more. And it's the best £8 a month I spend is... Am I allowed to say the names of companies and things? We're not at the point of sponsorship on the podcast yet. So Audible. And... because I love this is available on Audible as well. So
is it? So little plug for Audible there. Philip and Freddie voice work people. We're both available.
Yes, we're both active.
And I've always wanted to read more. Like, I've never got around to reading that classic literature. I've never got around to reading that. And I spend a lot of time in my car with my commute. I mean, it's only to Epping, but in rush hour, I can be in my car 2 hours a day for there and back. Yeah, definitely. And the books I've got through, honestly, and it was a way of educating myself to begin with. And now it's, I'm reaching out into all sorts of things to listen to, like podcasts and, mostly novels, sometimes autobiographies, biographies, that sort of thing. And I can't, the only time I listen to music in the car are when the girls are in the car. Yes, because, you can't listen to your book with other people. That's just selfish. No. And you know what it's like. Teenagers won't let you get away with that anyway. So that's the time when we listen to music, have a sing and have some fun. But it's another bit of me time, you know. A bit of you time. And also like you time, but you don't, when you're listening to a podcast, you don't feel completely alone. Yeah, I get that. You listen to it and you almost like feel part of the conversation because your brain's listening in and agreeing or disagreeing or assessing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what they're saying. And that's what I love about yours, because there's a lot of people that you've spoken to that I know personally. Yeah. It's great. I've got to know more about these people and things that I didn't know about before or have an understanding of. That's wonderful. Yeah, and it's great for humanity, isn't it, to have that sort of understanding. Yeah, we all want connection in some way, don't we? And absolutely. Yeah, and I hope that this kind of gives that within the creative world, Yeah. Starting with, I started with people in this small community that's local. But it's starting to branch out as well, bringing newer people in as it's getting bigger. The ripples are getting bigger. Absolutely, which is wonderful. So, yeah. So basically, I was like, I love listening. I think I could give it a go. Absolutely. I also thought to myself at the beginning, I'm not confident as myself, and that's something I wanted to change. Right. I wasn't confident. I was confident acting. Where you give me. You hear that a lot. Yeah, you give me a script and you give me a director to tell me exactly what to do. I was fine, but you asked me to be in front of a microphone and talk. No way. Yeah, no way. You hear that a lot. No way. Yeah, professional actors say the same. I was listening to what was when I was learning the Welsh accent for the last play I did, and it was Joanna Page from Gavin and Stacey. It never said it was her, but there's no denying, there's no escaping her voice.
Yeah.
And she's wonderful. And she said, I can act, give me a script and I'm absolutely fine, but put me on a talk show and I fall to pieces because it's me, And, I know people very close to my heart, fantastic actors, and you know them too. And they suffer with terrible anxiety and confidence issues. And then they stand on the stage and they're just so wonderful to watch. And you say, you'd never know. And so, well, it's because it's not me. It's so-and-so. It's whatever character. And it gives you that place of safety, that place to not hide, but be confident, And then it's just, like you're saying, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's just finding how to allow that to become part of who you are too, I guess.
And so for me, I decided that the only way to find out that I can do it was to do it.
Yeah.
Was to jump
it's
in.
Always the way.
And it was only back in August, September that I started doing this. And already I can look back and assess myself, and I look at myself back in September and I cringe. Like it's cringy. And I'm still having cringy moments now as I'm doing this stuff. But I'm like, every time I do something cringy, I know it's getting like a little tiny bit better.
Yeah.
Every time, like 1%. Like that's my thing. 1% better every time.
But you've got the power of editing.
That's why the uncut version of this is going out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we released the uncut version first, so that we're showing our true, authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing to hide.
There might be a stop here and there if someone needs a toilet break or something. But in general, it's uncut, it's fresh, it's authentic truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with it, Martin.
So let's get onto your creative life at the moment then, Jo. So are you still part of the Hatfield Heath players?
Oh, very much so. Very firmly integrated into the Heath players.
So what are the Heath players?
Heath players, we're an amateur theatre group, primarily set up in Hatfield Heath, next village along. Our shows are performed there. And we're a fairly small theatre group, but one of the things we pride ourselves on, our unique selling point, if you like, is that we're incredibly open, incredibly friendly, incredibly welcoming. I'm not saying other theatre companies aren't. Yes. I'm not saying that. But people always come to us and say, oh, God, this is such a lovely group. I feel like part of the family already. We're very diverse. We work with people of all shapes, sizes, colour, religions, backgrounds, and neurodiverse, neurotypical, So we embrace everything, and we're not scared. I think the other thing we're quite well known for is we're not scared to take on challenging pieces. We won't just put something on because we know it's a crowd pleaser. It's going to be bottoms on seats and it's going to sell and make money. We're not about that. If we find something like that and we want to do it and we enjoy it, then great. But we're not afraid to do the things that people might say, oof, I don't know about that one. For example, the most recent piece that we did, The Revlon Girl, very hard-hitting piece, very, very sensitive subject matter about the Aberfan disaster. With the school that was crushed with the coal mining slag heap. The
70s, wasn't it?
Oh my
60s
God,
or
I should
70s?
know this. 60s, 66, 67. Yeah, I should know this because it was part of the script. I should know this inside out. And a lot of people said, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't talk about something where children died, a horrendous amount of children, 160 something. And why can't we, And it was incredibly sensitive. And there was an enormous weight of responsibility in taking that on. And because of that, we invested so much of our time and energy into making sure we got it right. We took a trip to Aberfan. We went to the graves, and it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I knew that it was going to be tricky, but I didn't know it was going to hit me as hard as it did. I really felt unbelievable amount of grief for what this community went through. Partly because, it happened to a junior school, which is exactly what I teach.
For anyone listening that doesn't know, what happened that day?
So there'd been warnings for a few months leading up to the disaster. It was back in the time when all the sort of whatever wasn't usable coal, known as the slag, it was piled up onto a hill. And they just kept piling and piling onto these hills, and people said, this isn't safe. Surely this is not right. And in the weeks leading up to the slip, there was an horrific amount of rain. An abnormal amount of heavy rain. Mm-hmm. And it was a Friday morning. It was about 9 a.m, just when all the children were in school, and it just slipped. And thousands and thousands of tons of waste just belted down a hill and just wiped out the primary school. Well, it was a junior school, actually, 7 to 11-year-olds. Wiped out the junior school and a few houses either side and a farm, I think. And it killed instantly hundreds of children, 57 adults, mostly teachers, the head teacher, people walking to school. And you can imagine that what that did to that community, And the play, The Revlon Girl, is a play about a group of mothers that come together in the months after the disaster, just for a safe place. They can either talk about it, not talk about it, a guilt-free space to, laugh if they need to laugh, or and the premise of this play is, and it's actually a true story, one of the characters organised, my character actually in the play, Sian, she organises for a Revlon lady to come along, but they have to keep it secret because they can't possibly seem to be worrying about how they look or taking care of their appearance when such terrible things happen to their lives. They thought it would make them look selfish or, uncaring. And of course that wasn't it at all, but they realised that they hadn't given themselves any self-care in such a long time. And throughout the play, the characters of these women emerge and sort of their stories about the day and maybe their lives before it too, or since. But the play itself is done in a way where there are so many funny moments. Did you see it?
I didn't.
You didn't? No. We're taking it to Hartford. Okay. So
I must.
Yeah, you must come along.
Hartford, that's a competition?
Competition, competition over 6 nights.
Right, okay.
6 plays, and then there's an adjudicator, and there's an overall winner, but there's also an audience award, so it's not necessarily, quite often not the same as the adjudicator award. Sometimes it is. Heath Player's won it a few times, gone on to nationals, won that too, so... I think I've got myself in a loop of...
No, that's fine. You've given us a brief description of the story. Now, my big question, my takeaway from that is, why is it important that we continue to tell the story of what happened that day? And it was horrific what happened, but why do we need to keep talking about it? Why do we need to tell the story?
I think, like anything, it's to make sure that these things never happen again. The health and safety procedures that were in place, or not in place, as it would seem. People had made noises about it. There were warnings. It turns out there was a stream underneath, of course, and so when there was just more water, it just gave way. It just completely collapsed. And I think it's important to tell those stories because I knew about it, but only by watching The Crown. It's an episode in The Crown.
Same.
And when I watched The Crown, I had to Google it. Did this really happen? And I thought, well, it must. But you do that.
Surely you'd have known about it.
Yeah,
you think it's such
surely.
a big thing. Yeah.
I mean, it was about 10 years before I was born. But even so, you think I would know about that. Yeah. Kids today who weren't around in 2001 know about 9/11. People know about huge natural or terrorist things or whatever. And I thought, I can't believe I don't know about this. And I was a bit shocked that I didn't know, especially as a primary school teacher and a mum. I thought.
So it's one thing to talk about it, but why within entertainment is it important that we continue to talk about it, that we continue to shine a light on these moments? How is that different? I
think what was important about that was telling their story, having an understanding of, you know, what those people went through. And now people today, God forbid you ever went through anything similar, or even just losing a child. I'm not talking about a massive scale disaster, but you can identify with it and you can think, oh my God, I laughed the other day because someone said something or did something that made me laugh and I felt so guilty. It's like, I don't need to, you know.
Through the stories, I guess it shows us we're human.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, like anything, the countless plays and stories there are about World War II, the Holocaust and things, I think the point of those is, you know, this can never happen again. You know, there was numerous times this person could have been stopped, or, you know, and if people could look back, would they have been so eager to follow along? And you know, probably getting into dangerous territory now, but I think it's important to tell those stories through theatre, through TV and whatever, books, to ensure that they don't happen again.
Yeah, and I guess you say dangerous territory. We're in a time where cancel culture is quite a big thing, and you see a lot of. There's a film being made at the moment, and it's about the 7/7 bombings.
I remember I was pregnant with LJ.
Yes.
I remember it well.
Yeah, and there's a film coming out that part of the film is about the 7/7 bombings, and there was this thing on the BBC News. Oh, should this be allowed to go over with a drama, go over this topic? And it was like, well, yeah. How else are we gonna? We don't go to school throughout all of our lives, do we? And learn about every event that happened.
No, absolutely.
No. So it's where the entertainment comes in, is where we can sit back and watch it and go, yeah, this shouldn't happen again. This is how we need to stop it. This is how we learn, maybe through entertainment.
Absolutely. And there's people's stories to be told. And sometimes you look at some of the stories that have come out of 9/11, most incredible stories of survival, you know, and resilience, which is another thing I kind of pride myself on being. But yeah, I think for me as an actor, it's by far the most challenging thing I've ever done. And it was really important to me to do it. You know, it was incredibly emotionally draining. You know, I'd come home from rehearsals with horrendous headaches. But it was just important to, you know, I love the comedy things. I do. I love making people laugh. That's like kind of my favourite thing, if you like. So it was really important to do something that was, you know, had a really serious undertone and a really strong message, and something that, you know, we could get out there. I mean, we had people in the audience we didn't know until after the show, but we had 2 members of the audience who were from Aberfan and lived through the whole thing, and they're neighbours of another one of our members.
And they came,
and they said it was wonderful. It was moving, but it was done just right. You know, it wasn't glamorizing it in any way. It was really heartfelt, but it was done with a light touch in some places, so that there were very funny moments. And they said it was just fantastic. And for me, that's the biggest accolade you can get. Yeah, absolutely. Because you think, well, they were there. They lived this, and if they can watch it and not be offended, or not, you know, and come away and say, you did that really, really, really well.
Yeah, and I guess we need to deal with these stories with care and being tactful, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know, taking that trip there to visit, to be considerate of what happened, to the people that still exist that have memories of the place.
Absolutely, everybody you talk to is my uncle went up there and was digging out, trying to get children out, and my dad was doing this, and you know, my mum or whoever was, you know, working, covering the bodies, and you know, everybody's got a story to tell because it's recent history. So there was a huge weight of responsibility in getting it right, and I think we achieved that.
Good. Well, I look forward to seeing it when you take it to the festival.
June half term, something like that.
May, June half term.
Yeah.
Good, all right. Well, you must tell me. And
I will.
I only get to go to these things if people remind me, if people give me a poke.
I shall remind you, don't worry.
And I've had there's 2 people I've had on here recently. I've had Lee Pace on here. Do you know Lee Pace?
I know Lee really Wow.
Yeah, he's been involved with the local amateur dramatic scene for a very long time, and he's a musician. And I've never been to one of his gigs.
Have you not?
No,
They're brilliant.
Yeah, and I've
Him
heard
and
so
me.
much about them. And him and me.
Yeah, I saw that because Lee and I did Bugsy Malone together.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm going back 30 years now.
Right.
And we had a little reunion about 10 years ago, something like that. It was around the time that you did Rapunzel.
That was
I remember.
2016.
Oh, okay. So 8 years ago then?
Yeah.
And we went to see him, me and him, in the pub in Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so lovely to see him. Yeah.
So and I in all the years he's been doing me and him, I've never gone out and seen it. So now,
really great.
Now I will be going to see it. But then another guest that I need to mention that was on here the other day, Michael Casey, local reviewer of theatre productions, local journalist. He talks about Hatfield Heath.
He does. He's a big fan of the Heath players.
But he talks about it on the podcast.
Does he?
Yeah. So it's for you, it's going to be in a couple of weeks' time.
Amazing.
But for anyone else listening, it's a couple of episodes before Michael Casey.
Okay.
I won't tell you what he said, but he's got some nice things to say about that.
Yeah, no, he's very nice, and he's written some very nice and complimentary things about me, and he recognised me here in the Railway Children recently. Yes, and that's nice when people start to recognise you and the work you're doing locally. So yeah, he's really nice. I like Michael. Yeah, he's a good guy.
So we touched on there that 30 years of amateur dramatics, community theatre. Is that right? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so I thought about this over today. Kind of where did my love of it come from? Yeah. And if I go back to the beginning, if that's all right.
Of course, yeah, let's go all the way back, yeah.
So I was really lucky. Just by chance, I went to a primary school and a secondary school where music particularly, but performing arts was really at the heart of it. You know, incredibly lucky. I had this most amazing music teacher at primary school called Mrs. Meadows. I think her name was Muriel Meadows, if she's still out there. And she was incredible. I didn't know any different at the time. I thought all children had the experience that I had at primary school. But she encouraged children to take up musical instruments, and she would teach them in her own time. Probably paid. I don't know if my mum and dad paid for it, probably. But I took up the violin. Good God.
Okay.
My poor parents. But they could have stopped that at any point. And she taught me how to play the violin. We had a school orchestra, and we would, perform in concerts and things. And she was one of those old school piano teachers where she would play and we would sing in assembly. It wasn't a tape, or a record or whatever it was back in the 80s. We had a pianist and we would sing. But she used to write her own music.
Oh, wow. Now,
again, didn't really have an appreciation for it when I was 7, 8, 9 years old or whatever. But you asked my mum and dad, she wrote this song called The Fire of London, The Great Fire of London. And it was like an epic score. It had so many different phases through the music, and we'd bash this song out at every concert for years on end. But it was stunning. It had parts, it had call and responses, it had kind of overlay, and it was just like, it was brilliant.
It triggered something in you.
It did. And, I remember my dad saying, oh, God, not the Great Fire of London, because it did go on a bit. Yeah. But I remember loving.
Do you remember any of the words?
I do remember a bit of it. Oh, so I can't remember the tune exactly, but it starts off, if you should go to Pudding Lane, and it talks about how the monument's there. And then there's sort of a bit, and it says, fire, 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 fire. I can't remember. It's very difficult not to get into London's burning. Yeah. But I can't. I'm on the spot now, so I can't remember too much of it. No, that's all right. But yeah, it was great, and I was so lucky because you don't see that in primary schools anymore, like full orchestras, or certainly not in sort of the mainstream schools and other teachers I know. And then I went from there and I went on to secondary school, just down the road from here. And again, just the most inspirational music teacher. We had two. Mr. Eade, he was great. But Mr. Belbin, Paul Belbin.
What secondary school did you go to?
I went to Mark Hall.
So
I went to Tanneysdale as my primary school, and then I went to Mark Hall. And Mr. Belbin was just the most passionate music teacher you could ever come across. And there wasn't anything that he couldn't play. You know, he played the saxophone, he played the piano, but I mean, he could just sit down and play anything, you know. I remember thinking, what an amazing talent to have, you know, what an amazing skill. And
what did that mean to you, seeing someone so passionate?
I think it's just inspiring. You know, it was really inspiring. It's like, I don't know, there's part of me that thought, oh God, I could never be that good. And I can't play the piano. It's my biggest regret. You know, I wish I'd opted to play the piano rather than the violin. You know? And it's still not too late. This is the positivity kind. It's not too late for me to learn. You know, I can do that, and I can play a bit. You know, because I can read music, so I can. You know, I could bash out the tune if I needed to for a rehearsal or something. But it's the playing with two hands that I struggle with. But he was just. And because of him, you know, we had a choir, we did big musical productions. We did Pirates of Penzance was the one that sticks in my mind. And he really nurtured, if he saw a talent in you, you know, he would really nurture that and encourage it. And I think that's where the love of it came. You know, the first time we were at primary school, I remember being, and again, it must have been something that a teacher wrote, because I've Googled it and I've never been able to find it. And I thought, I'm never going to get the lead role for this, because it was a boy, the little Dunder Boy. So if anyone does know what this play is, it can help me find it. Yes. And I remember I had to sing this little song, with a knapsack on my back. And I had my little knapsack, and I was wandering around the school hall and through the audience. And they let me play the little Dunder Boy. And I thought, oh, I think that was a bit of an ego boost at the time. I thought, oh, must be good if I'm a girl and I'm playing the lead role and it's a boy, in very sort of stereotypical. It was, and as actors, we all have egos,
and that's not a bad thing.
No, I don't. No,
it's not always a bad. It can be a bad thing when it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not.
Your ego protects you, don't you? know about this? If you about the law of attraction, how the ego is the thing that keeps you safe, if you like. I mean, I don't want to get too much into that right now, but But yeah, I guess that's a different type of ego.
Yeah.
But so I went on and from then I thought I loved that, being in the spotlight. I loved that. All eyes on me kind of thing. Yeah. And I think you either love it or you hate it. You know, I know plenty of people who hate it. But obviously within theatre, you know, you can't hate it if you like being on the stage. So, you know, I continued to do that through secondary school. The repertoire of songs that I know because of Mr. Belbin, you know, he was obviously a very big Queen fan. Yeah. Always singing Queen songs. The Carpenters, David Bowie, like an extraordinary amount of songs that he would teach us. And so I left school. Well, no, I was still at school when I joined Stage Directions, which is where I met Lee Pace and Jodie Randall.
So Stage Directions in the town was like a youth
theatre. Yeah, youth theatre. So we ranged from, I suppose we were secondary school age. I don't remember anyone little being there. Oh, and that was just my world. I just loved it. Just absolutely loved it. And that's where I built my strongest friendships. The strongest friendships I remember during secondary school were the ones that I made with my theatre group.
Why are they different?
I think it's funny, isn't it? Because when you do a play, you rehearse for 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer if it's something a bit bigger. So it's a reasonably short amount of time, but it's a really intense amount of time. You see these people 2 or 3 times a week for several hours. You rely on each other in a way that I don't experience in any other aspect of my life. You know, I'm not saying I don't have teamwork elsewhere. Of course I do. But you're so dependent on each other on that stage, aren't you? You know, you trust each other if you get into a bit of a fix, or you think, I know I'm safe because I'm on the stage with this person. And it's like giving up your time. So you see someone, or you might be the person who's struggling to get to grips with the lines, and people say, come round mine tomorrow. And then before you know it, the whole cast is doing an extra rehearsal because you want it to be right, you know, and you don't want to let yourself down, but more importantly, for me, you don't want to let everyone else down. And I think that just forges such strong bonds between people. And sometimes these people just come and go, one show, and then, you know, if you immerse yourself in local theatre, you end up working with these people quite a lot, and they become the people closest to you. So And I love that aspect of it and the opportunities that it opens up. I mean, stage directions, I was 14, we did Bugsy Malone, and then we took it to Czech Republic. I don't know if it was Czechoslovakia at the time. I'll have to look at my history dates. But anyway, we took that to Czech Republic and performed on a stage out there and, in our twin town, Harlow's twin town. I think that was an extraordinary opportunity to have at that age. And it's something that I've always taken with me, and the friendships that you had with those people.
And then where did you go next with the youth theatre company? What happened? Did that lead you into? Did you want to continue doing acting for the rest of your life once you sort of left there?
I always loved it. When I left school, I don't want to say anything that makes it sound like I'm ungrateful or that my parents stopped me doing what I wanted to do. It's not that at all. But I felt, because of the pressure of school as well and teachers, you're very academic, go down the academic route, it'll be a waste if you don't go to university, blah, blah, blah. And I don't regret that. I don't, no regrets.
No.
But I think if I'd have followed my own heart without any other voices in my head, I'd have gone to drama school. I'd have pursued it a bit more. But it was very much the view of, well, that's a great hobby. Have that as your hobby and enjoy it. But, get yourself qualifications and like I say, no regrets at all. But I think once you get into university, that becomes quite intense. Then I met who then became my husband and father of my children. And like a lot of people around that age, I've sort of, I don't know, just moved away from it for a little while, to bring up my children and whatnot. So it was a good long time. I think the last thing I did as a youth was Mice and Men. Again, Lee Pace.
Wonderful.
Jodie Randall directed that. Great experience. And that was the last thing I did. And then I was off to uni and life happened and got in the way, if you like, in the nicest possible way. And I took a step back, and it wasn't until I got my own children into cats.
Like a similar,
absolutely, but started much younger. Yeah, I think Ruby was still 3, almost 4.
So it's like a drama. Cats is a drama.
Yeah, our children went there together, don't they? They continue to go together. Yeah, class act theatre school. And then I refound my love for it. So I started, made friends very quickly with Caroline and Simon, still 2 of my closest friends that I have today. Love them to pieces. And they found out that not only was I a primary school teacher, so DBS checks and all of that, but I had this background in performing and love for it. So Caroline asked me to come along and support with Cats on a Sunday afternoon, and I did that for many years. And that really sparked that joy again, and I'm not going to say that I was living it through my children if they ever said they didn't want to do it anymore. I'm not that kind of mum who's going to make them do something they don't love, but they genuinely love it. And they continue to. So it was when you were doing
Rapunzel.
What's the one before? Which is the one where LJ played the goblin? Was that Rapunzel?
That was Rapunzel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I chaperoned, and then I thought, and I remember Beefy said to me, "Oh, I knew you'd come back to the theatre at some point. You'll be up there next year." It's like, no, I won't. And there I was.
So the next year after that, I did the pantomime Snow White.
Snow White. I was in Snow White.
In Snow White. I did not realise that was the first thing
I'd done for about 15 odd years.
I didn't know
maybe
that.
Longer than that.
I didn't know
maybe
that.
20 years. And again, I loved it. Very small part, but I just appreciated being back on the stage again.
Yeah.
And being in it with my children meant I got to spend all that extra time with them.
That's so
rehearsals.
special, isn't it? Doing a play with your kids.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of the things I loved most about doing Railway Children this year. And I met Bernard, and we become really good friends. And he said, "Come and watch me in a play that I'm doing, The Last Romance." And he said, "Heath Players, they're a lovely, lovely group. Come along and watch." He said, "I've got a play that I want to do this time next year." And he said, "I'd like you to come along and audition for it." I thought, oh, okay. And that was me getting into the Heath Players. So yeah, he did exactly what he said. I went and watched The Last Romance, which was fantastic, with Jan Stacey and Renee and Tony Saxby. I think he was directing it, and loved it. And that was over at the Village Hall in Hatfield Heath. And I couldn't believe it when I walked in. It's like a proper little theatre when you walk in. It's amazing. It's incredible what we do with the space over there. And anyway, yeah, Bernard put on this show, Proof, and that was the first big thing that I'd done in a very, very long time. And, you know, your confidence takes a bit of a knock, you know, when you've been out for so long and you become sort of out, like anything, out of practice. And I think Bernard...
Did you take a moment to think, can I
do this? Yeah.
I did it when I was young, but I'm a different person now.
Absolutely.
I've had all these other knockbacks in life. Is this...
Yeah, and I've got other commitments,
other commitments. Yeah, you got a job that you still got to manage.
Absolutely. Children that I've got to bring up.
Yeah.
And I've got to dedicate this time to rehearsals, but it's not, you know, as does anyone who does this for fun. You know, you've got to spend the time learning the lines. It doesn't just happen at rehearsal. So it doesn't for me anyway.
No, sure.
It's an extraordinary amount of hours that you have to put in for yourself.
So there is a lot to being in an amateur theatre production. Is it worth it though? If you compare your time before rediscovering it, what's the value that it's given to you now?
I feel like I've got me back. It's the thing I do for me, you know. And the friendships that you open up again and new relationships that you make, it makes me whole. It makes me feel complete, you know. There's no better sense of, it's that sense of achievement when you've put on a show, not just of maybe a great performance or a good review or whatever. It's far more than that. It's the friendships that you've built and the closeness, and you know, like I was saying earlier about the trust. You've got this whole circle of friends that you could call up any time, day or night, and they'll be there for you. You know, that is the best thing for me. But it's just, I don't know, like rehearsals are hard work. They're really hard work, and sometimes you might have had a really long day and you feel really tired. You know, you've got a headache and things, but you go because you're a team and you can't let your team down. And when you're there, all those troubles just melt away. And you just, I don't know, it energizes me. It makes me feel powerful in a way. You know, that I can that simple thing of being in that room with those people can just make all of those worries or troubles just disappear. You know, even if it's just for a short time.
Even if it's just for that rehearsal period, that 3 or 4 hours of of a Tuesday evening.
Absolutely. But then it changed your mindset, because then you come out and you feel positive and you think, oh yeah, I didn't have a crap day, but do you know what? I feel great now. You know, and
you're around a group of people that you become close to, that you can confide in, and you become friends, don't you? Like you were saying about
absolutely.
Your friendships with Simon and Caroline and Bernard and Lee and all these people.
Yeah.
You know, and me and you, and how, like, you know, like the friendships are just they're priceless, aren't they? The friendships that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Like absolutely. No review in the world can make you feel better than the friendships that you form, you know, doing theatre. And so it sparks joy, as I heard Lisa talking about on her podcast, and Mary Kondo quote, yeah, if it doesn't spark joy, don't do it. And it sparks an incredible amount of joy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with me. And you don't realise it sometimes, do you? You don't realise it within the moment. Sometimes you need to step back, and we need to talk about it like this to go you have to go like, how important is that to my life? It's hugely important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying it's all, you know, it's all roses and everything. There are some rehearsals or some, you know, that are really tricky, you know, and there are moments now and again where you think, oh, you know, you have that bad rehearsal, you know, that rehearsal about a week before the show. Yeah. Where everything just...
Oh, and it's always bad a week before the show, isn't it? It's always at its worst.
You've forgotten everything. Yeah. You've forgotten your lines. You've forgotten where you come on or...
Well, lots of elements being added in. You've had this like rehearsal period where it's you, the book, a group of people in a village hall somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're wearing different clothes and you've got a torch to hold, or you know, and there's all these different things.
Oh, absolutely! It changes it again,
and you're
doesn't
like,
it?
Oh,
Yeah,
Like,
I've got to get used to this all over again. Yeah. And that's why because I direct too, I'm currently in the middle of directing my second show. Well, second show with the Heath players. You know, I direct children for years and years and years at school and whatever. But I forgot what we were talking about.
That
middle-aged frame.
Yeah, that moment of like, where am I?
Yeah, why am I here?
Well, one of the next question I had for you is about your time at school, how that differs. You're doing the performances at school with the school children. Do you specialise in drama, or you're primary school teacher? Is that right?
I am. So here's the thing: we teach everything.
Yes.
Okay, as you know, I'm actually a maths specialist at school, primary.
Okay. Yes,
Don't throw GCSE questions at me. So yeah, we don't. We have something that we, as secondary school teachers, you have a specialism. Okay, as subjects that you know really deep, and you teach to GCSE or A-level standard or whatever. At primary school, you have to teach everything, but obviously you've got subjects that you enjoy more than others. And for me, as a primary school teacher, it will come as no surprise to you that the thing that I love most in the whole year is school production. Whether it's Christmas or Easter in my phase, in my year group, and that is the time in the year where we do our big production. Now, I've worked in schools, won't name them, where one year group did the nativity and then year 6 did their leavers play, and that was it. You know, you could do your class assembly, but no, there were not performing opportunities, and I find that heartbreaking. I find that absolutely heartbreaking.
Why do schools do that? Why do schools strip it back sometimes?
Curriculum gets in the way. There's far too much emphasis in some schools on the academic achievement. You know, I'm very lucky. I work at a wonderful school where the children are absolutely at the heart of everything, and fabulous head teacher whose ethos and philosophy is developing the whole child. So we've got this whole program of creative me, adventurous me, community me. So we reach out, we do a lot of work with the old people's home, one of the ones in Epping. We take the kids on adventure days out and weekends, high ropes climbing, and we put them through their paces, get them to come out of their comfort zone, because the sense of achievement when you do is extraordinary. And so, you know, I've worked in schools where, year 3, 4 aren't doing a big performance. You know, that will take up too much time of the curriculum and blah, 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 without the understanding of the value that it gives to so many children. So, for example, I know of a boy in my daughter's year, real loner, was always on his own in the playground, quite happily in his own world, but very, very socially awkward. Found it really hard to make friendships, and kind of went through school being a bit different, you know, not many friends. And then all of a sudden they did their year 6 production, and this boy just came to life. He was incredible, and he'd never been given that opportunity before. And what a shame, because he had all this newfound respect from his friends. Oh, he choked up talking about Martin.
No, it's important.
Yeah, it is. And he just realised that, as so many of us do, who suffer with our mental health from now and again, or anxiety or whatever, he had this place where he was safe, and he was really good at it. And he had this newfound respect. And I think, what a shame that he didn't get that opportunity when he was in year 3, in year 4, in year 5, because his whole school experience would have been totally different.
But maybe it's changed it moving forward for him now.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so passionately.
Because it's like you said about it never being too late, even for children.
Yeah,
it's never
absolutely,
too late,
absolutely. But children's mental health, as we both know as parents in the modern world, is so challenging. You know, we're having to, and this is no disrespect to anyone who parented before our time, but the challenges are so different and more, you know, with the social media that they can never get away from anything, can we? You know, in our day, you were bullied at school, horrific as that is. You went home, you closed the door, your evenings, your weekends, and your school holidays, you were safe. That is not the case for kids anymore. You know, they're getting them through social media and text messaging and WhatsApp and whatever. And that comes with it a whole load of anxieties and social media pressures and so on and so forth. But, you know, I digress. But for me, what I'm so passionate about as a teacher is, yes, I teach everything to the best of my ability. But when I took on my new role at my new school, and I'm like the head of year 3-4 phase, I was like, do they do a year 3-4 show at Easter? Oh, they used to, or they sometimes do. But no, well, we are. Can we? You know? And it was, yeah, absolutely. And I see now all the time children that I'm giving those opportunities to, like that boy that was in Lucy Jo's class, and you see the change in them. You know, children that are maybe fairly quiet, just sort of drifting through school, sort of unnoticed, and you give them this opportunity, and you see how they shine on the stage, and you see what they get out of it. The same thing that we get out of it as actors, and you can see it. And then they go on, and you hear like 5 years down the line, they're still doing it, and they've got the lead role in their secondary school production, and you know, and
but it's even important for the ones that don't continue to do it. Like, for example, my son, he's 18. He's not got any interest in pursuing acting any further or any kind. At the moment, he enjoyed it when he was part of the class act theatre school, the youth theatre club, but he got confidence from that.
Yeah, he
developed a sense of who he was as a person. He's able to, as a 9-year-old, he was able to get up at my wedding and do a speech as a 9-year-old because of the confidence that theatre had given him.
Absolutely.
And he's able to. He says sometimes that he's not confident, but he is. He can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
I think we all have that inner voice, don't we, that tells us we're not confident or we're shy. But if you can talk to people, that's a huge skill, isn't it? And that definitely comes from doing this kind of art.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Communication.
Which is why I'm such a believer in it, you know. And yeah, it can be hard work. You know, we have 90 children doing our productions that we have to manage,
shuffle and
they don't all love it.
No, they're not going to. We're all different types of people, aren't we? Some of us are sporty, some of us are academic, some of us are arty, and it's trying to bring all those different elements out in us rather than just the academic. Absolutely.
And it's just, you know, and even children that think they're not going to like it end up loving it. Never forget when I did a year 6 show in my previous school. We did The Little Mermaid, and the boys were like, rub it, oh God. Anyway, we watched the film, and then one of the really cool kids, I'm still in touch with his mum, he's still super cool, said, I think I'd like to audition, miss. I'm like, yes. Oh, I'm so happy. Well, before you knew it, they all wanted to audition. Oh, I want to be Sebastian. Oh, I want to be King Triton. Oh, I want to be... And they knocked it out of the park, you know, and... You know, it just took one cool kid to say, yeah, this looks like it might be a laugh, actually. This could be fun. And they knocked it out of the park. They realised it wasn't just all girl parts and mermaids and this, that and the other. But, yeah, and that's just what I love, you know, and the teamwork that you get out of kids. You know, we've got the kids that don't want to perform. They want to be the stagehands. Brilliant. Yeah. And... You know, I have parents saying, it's not the West End. No, it's not. But there's nothing wrong with working professionally, you know. So I have all the kids in black who are, you know, dressed in black.
I think that working professionally thing is something to do with the commitment and the energy that you give to it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And no, you're not going to take your script on stage. You know, you have got to learn your lines. And, you know, I don't want to take the fun out of it. Of course I don't. But I want them to get a sense of achievement. I want the parents to go... which they always do. Oh my God, that was fantastic. That was so good.
And there's something in when you take like this, you say like the script away from them, they protect each other.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
How do you mean?
If for example, us as adults, if I was on the stage with you and I dropped a line, you would come and pick something
Absolutely.
up for me.
Yeah.
You would push me along, or you would cover the scene, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
And
you'd find a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where
absolutely.
that teamwork comes in. You find a way for it to keep moving forward, don't you?
Absolutely. And the kids that take on the crew, they think, oh, I don't want to act, this will be easy. And actually they realised it's the hardest role that you can take on, because the whole team relies on them, changing the set about, making sure the props are in the right place, who's got what at what time. And remember one girl said to me last year, God, I didn't think it would be this much hard work. But she loved it. Yeah. You know, and she,
And that's an important role to fill as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and really valuing
we've had
it.
Will, a technician, on here, and he said that changed his life the moment that he sat down at school next to the caretaker with the lighting desk.
Yeah.
And he went to turn on the lights and switch the buttons. He said he just found himself in that moment. You know,
it's just so empowering, isn't it? And it's
empowering.
It's empowering, and it's opportunities. If you give people these opportunities, whether they take it as something like Alex, who's just is going to build their confidence and give them those skills that they're going to need in their working life, you know, if you've got to present to a room or whatever, or whether you found a new passion for them, you know, or one in every few thousand, something that then becomes a career, you know, professional work, you know. So yeah, I think that's what I love about it so much. It's just the way I can see it can change people and can give you that confidence and gives you those skills.
I can imagine you're a really cool teacher.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Martin.
You're the cool one, aren't you?
It's like, I want to be in Miss Gladstone's class. No, I do have a great relationship with the kids. A parent described me recently as firm but fair, which I like that. I think that's good. I am firm. They know who the boss is, but because I established that relationship, we can also have a lot of fun as well. There are the few that try and push those boundaries. You'll always get that. But yeah, I love my job and I love working with the kids. But the thing I love about it most is those opportunities in the year when we get to, when I get to do what I love the most. So last night, you know, marking books is the most boring thing in the world. Writing reports, so on and so forth, planning lessons. Ugh, I hate all that admin type stuff. All teachers do. I love the actual being in the classroom. So last night I sat with my colleague for about 2.5 hours, and we're doing Oliver this year. And we just announced the cast. And that is just the loveliest thing. They're like, oh, well done, mate, well done. Oh, brilliant. And they're patting each other on the back. And there was this one boy, and I knew he wanted the part of Dodge. And it was between him and someone else. And I thought, one of their hearts is going to break here. And you know that feeling when you've not got the part you really want. That's part of life. It's part of acting, isn't it?
That's a skill and something we need to learn is that rejection.
Absolutely.
It's not always a bad thing, but we need to learn.
And embrace it. And do you know what? This kid, I could see his eyes filling up, and he looked around the room, and then he said, well done, mate, well done, you know. And then he came up to me afterwards. He said, I am disappointed. He said, but I know that I'm going to do you really proud in the part that I've got. And, you know, and I thought, that's lovely, you know, because you do get the odd moment where they go off and have a bit of a tantrum. And you have to say, look, you've not read the script yet. You don't know how big your part is. You know, trust me, trust the process, trust me. And that's the beauty of, you know, primary school plays. We don't have to stick to a script. We write our own version of things, so you can build in extra parts.
You try and make it as even a playing field as possible.
Absolutely.
You try and give everyone an opportunity to do something.
Absolutely. But the way they come together. That's why there's
now a lobster in the Nativity, isn't there?
That's right. One of my favourite films, that is.
So you obviously you're doing the teaching at school, and you're doing your amateur dramatics, and in the amateur dramatics at the moment you're about to direct something new. Yes, we're directing a play called Drinking Habits.
It's not about joining AA.
No?
No, it's a comedy. So it's a play on the words habits, because it's set in a convent. Okay. So without giving too much away, come and see it if you really want to know what it's about. Yep. But it's about 2 nuns who are making wine on the quiet and selling it to the local town to keep the convent going, because it's not got enough money coming in and they're worried it's going to be closed down. And it's about the fixes that they get themselves into trying to cover this up. It's a farce, so it's very fast paced. It's, you know, in one door and out the other, in a box, out a box, in the closet, out the closet. And we've got a character who is a journalist, male, who then has to pretend to be a vicar, who then pretends to be a nun, who then pretends to be the cardinal. It's very silly, but it's loads of fun. We're having so much fun at rehearsals already. We're only 3 or 4 rehearsals in, next one tomorrow. And working with lots of people that I already know, but some new people as well coming into the group.
It's always nice to have new people in your group, isn't it? It's
new
always,
blood. Yeah.
It's lovely seeing the same faces. Like you say, you build some friendships and a community. Sure. But when new people come in and breathe a bit of fresh air into
absolutely.
it, a bit of new energy.
Yeah,
it really
and
is
new
lovely.
Friendships every
because it's nerve-wracking for them coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which is why, I've always, blow me own trumpet or anything, but I've always made friends quite easily. You know, I'm a very open person, I'm very approachable, and I feel that one of my skills is putting people at ease. I will, if anyone's stood standing on their own, I'll go and chat to them, because I hate that. I hate seeing someone on their own. And we had a new lady that came and just said she'd like to come and sit in on a audition, just listen. And she read, and I said, you read really well. Would you like to be in it? And I went to see her in last night in a panto in Hallenbury, and to support her, because I think that's the other thing about theatre groups, you support each other.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you think, I don't really fancy that play, but I'm going to go because so-and-so's in it and I want to support them. And
what else would you do with your Wednesday night? Do go and see a play?
Absolutely, yeah. And what you think, I didn't know I was going to enjoy that as much as I did. And, but regardless of whether you enjoyed it or not, you've supported your friend, and that's the most important thing. So the group's growing. Had someone else contacted me this week who's going to come along tomorrow. She just heard about us in the village, and
lovely. She
thought she needed to be an accomplished actress or actor already to join. I said, no, absolutely not. Like, come along. It's fun, and so we're growing. So that's good.
Lovely. That's amazing, and it is lovely to play as an adult, isn't it?
To play? It's so important. Yeah,
like we're going. I'm sticking with the new people coming in and thinking, you have to be professional and to go into an amateur dramatics group. But no, it's just this opportunity to be around other adults and
play. It is play, really, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And play's so important. Yeah. Play's so important. I think I learned. I know that as a teacher, and my school is very big on. We've just set up a whole new lunch and break time play system. It's called Opal, and it's about letting children take the risks that we've somehow over the years stopped them taking.
The health and safety risks.
Yeah, absolutely. And let them manage their own risks. So we've got a digging area. Yeah, you're going to get muddy, so bring some wellies in, We've not gone down the route yet of climbing trees, but some schools who take on this approach do. And it's about, let kids be kids. And actually, what we've found since introducing this more free play and more opportunity. So we have a dressing up box with music, and then we put music on, and you've got the year 5 and 6 boys dressing up in the tutus and just owning it and having a giggle and a laugh. And what we found is there was the lady who works in the office on Friday said, I didn't have one person come to the office with a bumped head today, or fell over because they're bored outside and they want some time in, get the ice pack or whatever. And the arguments over football have gone because there is no football now at lunchtime because there's so many other opportunities. And the importance of play is where I was going with this. And I think as adults, we don't do that enough, No. And on holiday last year, I was on holiday with my girls, my brother, his wife, and my 3 nephews, who I absolutely adore. And Xander, the eldest, was... Can we all play hide and seek? Can we all play hide and seek? We're like, let's just play a card game tonight, or let's play this board game or whatever. And all holiday, he said, can we please? And we were in this huge villa, and and it had a hot tub room, it had a swimming pool, an orchard. I mean, it was enormous. There was the opportunities for hiding were great, which of course he saw straight away as a 10-year-old boy. We're like, bloody hell! Right, it's the last night. All right, we'll play hide and seek. It was the best fun I've had in so long. Yeah. We were laughing until our stomachs hurt, and my brother is a real fun character, and my sister and I absolutely adore her. But I don't really see that playful side of her too often. You know, she's, don't get me wrong, she's loads of fun, and I love her company.
Well, we are kind of taught to push it down as we get older, and all these, like we were saying, all these other things in life come along. You know, all the bills we've got to pay, the job we've got to do. It all crushes down that play, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You know, and she's a professional. She's an HR director, and she's incredibly good at her job. And I hadn't seen that side of her, and it was wonderful. You know, she was laughing, and you know, I had the best hiding place for ages. But I was in the hot tub sauna room, so I was absolutely sweltering. I mean, it was August in Italy, so it was hot anyway. I was just like, I'm gonna sweat it out. And then, you know, my brother, it was like tag hide and seek or whatever, so that if you were caught and then tagged, you also became a seeker.
Right, okay, yeah.
And last night, bearing in mind all the bags are packed and everything, and my brother then jumps into the pool so as that he's not going to get caught. So he's like, oh my God. And next thing you know, 2/3 of the family are in the pool in their clothes. And it's like, say what? So what, we're travelling home tomorrow, we're having fun, you know.
That's wonderful. When I direct, I try to bring in play as much as possible.
Yeah.
It frustrates some people, because some people are like, I just want to get on with the work.
Yeah.
I just want to read the text. I just want to do the rehearsing. But I know how good it is for bonding.
Yeah, it really is.
So especially if I've got like a rehearsal on like a Sunday that's maybe 4 or 5 hours longer, that I'll go, right, I'm going to give at least half an hour to play. And when I did Lion Witch and the Wardrobe here, we had a hide and seek session. And that was wonderful.
Yeah.
It really was. Like the bonding that came from that half an hour was worth it.
My girls said they love everything they do, but they loved last year. There was something really special about the cast and crew that you built last year.
But that's what I think it comes down to, is having those bonding moments.
And they loved that. And they really miss that when it doesn't happen. And as an adult, because I've worked recently with Sparrow and Luna. I know you've had Luna on here.
Yes, yeah.
And they do a lot of that. And I remember thinking, oh God. And then when you get into it, you're like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And then you're like, oh, is that over now? We've got to start working. And it, again,
I guess you've got to find a balance, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, find a balance between not too much overplay and getting on with the work.
Definitely.
You know, some people got, like for me, I've got needs. I'm a really bad reader. So I need to read as much as possible with everyone. I need to have as much time as possible rehearsing. So if it starts, I did a rehearsal recently where I did a play in a day. I don't know if you've saw that I shared recently on social media.
I don't think I did, Martin. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I don't have to look at everything I'm doing. But with that, we had 4 hours to rehearse before doing the play in front of a paying audience.
Right.
Now we could take the scripts on. They were fully the paying audience. There were 70 people there.
Wow. Was it here?
No. It was at the Old Red Lion Theatre pub in London. It's like Fringe Theatre in London.
Oh, I went to see Alan Turing. I'm sure that's where I went to see Alan Turing. I'm sure it was the Red Lion Theatre, because it's a fringe pub theatre. Where it's the theatre sort of at the back of the pub.
At the back of the pub.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Islington?
There's a couple of them. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So you've been there, so you know what the room's
it's
like.
Great little space.
It's a little bit like a rehearsal room with some chairs and some lights very close to you. But I had 4 hours with the script. I got the script like the day before.
Oh, jeez.
And being dyslexic, I'm like panicking and going over it the 24 hours before. And then I do it with 4 hours with the people. But the director was trying to keep bringing these little games in that 4 hours.
Oh, no. Yeah, there's a time and a place,
and
I
was like, guys, like I'm really quite conscious of the time. I really need to read this. We ended up rehearsing the last scene in prep.
Wow.
Because we'd run out of time for the rehearsal space.
Eat or rehearse. We'll do both.
In prep, yeah. But do you know what? It was magical, actually. It was one of the best theatre experiences I've had.
Oh, wow.
It was really, really special. Great team of people. Yeah, the director was great. Yeah. He was really good at pulling it all together in that 4 hour space.
And how long's the play?
The play was about an hour and 30 minutes.
Joking.
Yeah, with no interval.
An hour and 30 show?
Yeah, an hour.
In a 4 hour rehearsal?
In a 4 hour rehearsal, yeah.
Wow.
And it was the opportunity. The play was being put on for the writer. It was an opportunity for people to come and see new writing,
Right, I see.
and for the writer to share their
Yeah.
thing that they've wrote. It was part of like a little festival thing.
A bit like Fringe that we did here recently. With,
But intense.
Yeah, yeah.
But intense. And there was probably a moment like half an hour before where I was considering running.
Right. Yeah. Don't blame you.
If you'd have come along and gone, Martin, we'll go, I'd have gone, I'm going, like very easy.
What a sense of achievement, though.
But I did. I came out, and one of the things I said to myself, like I came out of that, and I said to myself, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't get to do that often, do you?
No, you don't.
Like,
you really
I was
don't.
like, I did that. I'm a terrible reader, terrible sight reader. I haven't acted on stage for a long time, and I did it all in one day.
Wow.
like achieved all that in that short period of time. And there was something about being just thrown in at the deep end as well,
Yeah.
by doing it intensely like that.
Absolutely. There's a saying, isn't there? If you leave it till the last minute, it only takes a minute, you know, and you just got to get on and do it.
Yeah.
But
And everyone else that was in it as well, all the other performers, their performance went from being a normal rehearsal in that short period of time to it changed when the audience and the lights were there.
Yeah.
Everyone's game raised up, and
Which it does.
yeah.
Anyway,
and
doesn't
no one just read from the page.
No.
Everyone performed as much of the piece as they could.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm looking forward to finding an opportunity to do that again. I think.
Yeah.
I think I
sounds
might
good.
even bring something like that here.
Why not?
Yeah. I didn't know it was something that people did actually. I didn't realise it was that was part of Fringe Theatre to do something quite so intense like that.
I mean, my girls have been part of Magic of the Musicals, which used to be on in the summer here, and you'd spend the week putting together a show.
Yeah.
And Charity Night with Cats is a bit like that, isn't it? It's a few rehearsals and then one day of
intensity.
Only one day really in here with, you know, with the props and whatever else. I mean, it's minimal set, minimal props and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they love it. And the audience, it's one of my favourite things to watch all year because you have to expect the unexpected, but that's what makes it even funnier and even more watchable.
Yeah,
because
it's when the moments go slightly wrong.
Yeah, and the pressure is not there to get it word perfect.
No.
So there's much more freedom
Audiences
within it.
are kind, aren't they, in general?
Yeah, they are. They
you
are.
know, in general, they're kind.
Generally speaking.
Especially with community theatre, amateur theatre, they're generally kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fringe theatre, yes, because they know what they're coming to.
Well, they realise the actor's not being paid. You're doing this because you love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love and nothing else. Yeah. Or you're doing it to support the theatre.
And that love comes back, doesn't it? Yeah.
It really does, yeah. Oh, the audience reaction is just... Oh, it's such a buzz, isn't it?
It is,
you know, when they laugh at things that you were hoping would be funny.
Yeah, or sometimes, things that you didn't realise were funny become funny, don't they? Yeah.
And if you can make them, if you can make them laugh, if you can make them cry, you've done your job.
Bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's next for you then, Jo? What's
Do you know what? You know what, Martin?
With all the positivity.
I'm at a really exciting point in my life. Now, I've made a decision to do something, and I figure if I now put it out here, I've put it out in the universe now, and then I'm accountable for it.
Yeah.
So
tummy rumble. Must be the time of the evening. Sorry about that.
I won't keep it too much longer. It's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time, but I don't know. I'm a terrible procrastinator. That is one of my, you know.
Do you know what my kids call me? Procrastinator man. They say
Mr. Procrastinator.
They say that if I was a superhero, that would be my superpower, procrastination.
Yeah, and I think that, and actually that might work in my favour because I love writing. I love it. And one of my favourite things to do is write, this is really small scale, but write my school assemblies or rewrite the school plays to include people. And I love making people laugh. And I realised quite a while ago, parents would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, your assemblies are so funny." And there is nothing wrong, by the way, with a class assembly where they're holding up their work and they're singing a nice song they've learned, and parents love it, whatever, because they just like to see their parents on stage. I like to bring some fun to it. So I'm doing my Roman assembly in a couple of weeks' time. And, I've got a kilt going into the Woad salon, because the blue paint that they would paint over them. And so we've got this whole scene of this warrior saying, make me really scary. And, it's just like, what design do you think will suit you, sir? Oh, yes, suits you, sir. And, things that the lines that the adults will know, but the kids are saying, and they don't even realise, the humour that's coming out of it. I'm probably not selling it here. But you know, and I really enjoy that writing aspect. So for a long time, I've wanted to write like a comedy drama, you know. It might not go anywhere, it might not do anything, but I don't want to say too much of what it's about at the moment, but I've got a pilot written in my head. I've got notebooks full of different episodes and probably enough for a couple of series. And, you know, I've been listening to my law of attraction books and things and about asking for help. So I'm going to start building a bit of a team. So actually I've got a friend coming around tonight who's also good at writing. And I'm going to put this kind of idea to her that just stop procrastinating it. Nothing might come of it. You know, it may be absolutely nothing, but I'm going to write it just so that I can say I did it and I tried, you know, and yeah, see what happens there.
What's the hope with it?
God, if I'm dreaming really big,
You're talking to the universe now.
Yeah, I am going to have a really successful comedy drama series. That's because the premise of it hasn't been done. I want to tell you, but I'm not going to put it out on here because someone could come along and steal my idea.
Well, see, I'm all for sharing. Like I've got a bit of a theory about this. That for a long time I was quite similar.
Yeah.
Through not sharing, not putting it out there, and nothing happened when I was doing that. Nothing happened, but as soon as I started sharing, things started changing.
Okay.
Especially with ideas.
And you know, I've read that, so I should put my money where my mouth is, shouldn't I?
And the thing is as well is if it isn't for you, maybe this idea you've got is to spur someone else forward. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Okay. Well, obviously I've got 20 years experience in the primary classroom, and things happen pretty much on a daily basis that really make me laugh. You know, whether I can laugh outwardly about it or not is another thing. But the amount of material that I've got, either from my own stories or from other teachers who I know, and, you know, everything, you know, there's just so much material there. There really is. And there's a lot of programs out there set at secondary school, you know, whether it's serious or more serious drama like Waterloo Road or whatever, or the comedy stuff like Big School and Bad Education and things like that. But primary school you don't see done very often. Nativity's the film, and that is the only thing I've ever seen that is kind of similar. But 3 films, and you can see how much
people love that.
Love it. Yeah. It's our go-to, you know, Love Actually and Nativity go-to Christmas films, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's the innocence of what kids say, isn't it? And you know, but my favourite things to watch. So I say it's procrastinating. I call it research when I'm watching lots of comedy dramas.
Yeah, no.
I love watching things that really make me laugh, and then 5 minutes later I'm crying because that serious side has come out. They've got that message across, but then they bring it back with some humour, and that's my favourite thing to watch, and that's my favourite thing to write. That's my So that is what I'd like to do. You know, I can't teach in the classroom till retirement. You know, as much as I love it, I think you do get to a point in your teaching career when you either need to take a different direction with it. So not be so much based in the classroom, but be more in a management role or an advisory role or something like that, or use those skills and go into another industry. And they're all possibilities. It will be a wrench leaving the classroom, but I think, you know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily it's a young person's game, but it requires a hell of a lot of energy, you know, and I just feel like I'm ready for a new challenge, a new direction, you know. And actually, those 20 years that I've been teaching, okay, a bit of maternity leave here and there, but the material that you have as a teacher is just, you know, you wouldn't believe some of the stories.
No, you've got to move that forward now.
I have.
You've got to take this moment and run with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's it.
And put it out into the universe now.
I have put it into the universe. And listening to your podcast, I thought, well, look, there's Joel. You know, he hadn't had any experience of theatre. And he just got on and he did it. And that inspired me. I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it, because I do have experience of acting, writing, directing, albeit at an unpaid level. But I've got so much material, that I've got to share that. I've got to. And then, asking for help, not just the universe, but building a team. I've got my friend coming around this evening who's also written. I'm hoping she wants to, I won't name her in case it puts her on the spot. But, and when I did the Sparrow Luna production, they had a screenwriter working with them. And I should have taken that as a green flag. Like, the universe is putting something on your doorstep here. It's saying, and that person came to my house and we had a big rap party and he's, so much fun. And I thought, yeah, I could work with this person. I just haven't been brave enough to approach him about it yet. So I think, you've asked me to do this podcast and I thought this is an opportunity for me to, put that out into the universe, state my intention. And now I've got to hold myself accountable to it and get on and do it.
We'll have this out there for people to listen to and watch, and for yourself to listen to and watch. And you can watch this in a few weeks' time and say, how far have I got?
Yeah, how far have I got?
How far have I got? Just pen on paper would be something.
Absolutely. Well, I have made that start.
Yeah.
And once you get going, I have spoken to my daughters about it. Obviously, they're my best friends. They really are. Oh, I can't. You know what it's like being a parent. You can't quantify that love, can you? But I'm very lucky that they're my best friends too. And they've come up with all these other, do you remember when you did this? Do you remember that school trip? You could have an episode all about this, and you can definitely have a Christmas special because, so it's, I've done residentials, specialist days, trips, swimming lessons. There is an episode for every kind
moment.
of aspect that, and primary school life is such a rich and exciting time. It's not really any surprise that I became a primary school teacher because they were the best years of my life. I absolutely loved primary school. I cried, I kid you not, Martin, I cried for about 2 weeks for the summer holidays after leaving primary school. Felt like my world had fallen apart. And I didn't have the same feeling about secondary school. I just kind of got through it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. Who wants to be a teenager again? No, thank you very much. But yeah, so it's no surprise I've come to be a primary teacher because that's the happiest time of my life that I remember. Absolutely. And I think these kids are they're priceless. The stuff that comes out of their mouths is just absolutely
you're lighting
hilarious.
Up when you're talking about it. There's a passion there, and I think the only thing that if I can offer you any advice,
please, Martin,
is to just enjoy the process.
Yeah,
because you're enjoying talking about it.
I am.
Yeah. Enjoy talking about it with your daughters, with your friend, and putting it down and getting all this stuff out. Yeah. Don't worry too much about what the next step looks like. About people putting it on and making a TV series or a film. You'll get there. Yeah. But at first, enjoy the process, and the more you enjoy the process, the further it's going to go. Absolutely. It might be a one-off stage thing to begin with, because I know I can do that. I've got the people around me. Absolutely. To do that, yeah, I could put that on. Which is a blessing. Yeah. Oh, it really is. And sort of float it out there. See, it's that work with animals and children. So you got to be pretty brave. But then I figure I'll be the writer. Yeah. Someone else has to worry about the directing it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And all the rest of it. But yeah, I've put my intention out there. If anyone's listening who's got some pearls of wisdom or some more advice for me, then I'll welcome it with open arms. I'm a very collaborative person. That's the way I direct. It's very collaborative, very open to suggestions. I'm not this is my idea and I'm sticking with it and we're doing it this way. I don't like to work like that. I think as an actor, that's horrible as well if you can't bring your own. What comes out of collaborating? Fresh ideas, new ways of doing things, I first learned this properly working with Sparrow and Luna last year, because that's entirely how they work. And because they so far have just used material that they've written themselves, you've got that freedom with it. You don't have the freedom with a scripted piece, particularly if you're taking it to something like Hatfield, when an adjudicator's sitting there with a script. But when it's the writer is part of the team, they said, right, there's going to be a funeral scene.
so we did like workshopping and activities around it. So have a conversation about the things that you say, because that's what everybody says at a funeral. I'm really sorry for your loss, and please let me know if there's anything I can do. And funerals almost so much worse, aren't they, when it rains? And, you know, stuff like that. And then there was this whole kind of workshopping process where the things that you really say, you know, like, oh, I didn't like him much anyway, or the drink was going to get him eventually, or do you know what I mean? Those kind of sort of maybe not too nice comments, or you know, and then
the truth.
The truth,
you
know. And I've heard this, I've heard that, and, you know, a bit gossipy maybe, but through that process, everyone just threw out their ideas and what they come up with in their groups, and they said, that's staying, that's brilliant, that's staying, cool, that's near the mark, but yeah,
but
we'll
staying.
leave that there, but it's staying.
Yeah.
And I really liked that, because you felt like you were a part, no matter how small your actual role was in the play, you felt, oh, I'm responsible for that line, or, oh yeah, my team worked that bit out together. And no, you just felt more invested in it, I guess. And that's how I like my actors to feel when I'm directing, that they're more than just a puppet that I've said, move here, sit there, stand up, go across there. You don't want it to look directed. Do you know what I mean? You want it to look natural. And that comes from actors telling you, I feel like I need to move here, or that doesn't feel quite right doing that. And I think the more open you are to taking on, you know, people's ideas, the better the overall performance, because it feels more natural. Yeah, there's nothing worse than working for a director who says, why did you move then? Did I tell you to move? Oh, sorry. And then you're too scared to do anything. And that's a horrible place to be. It just knocks your confidence, and then there's none of you in it. You could be anyone playing that part from that point. And I felt like that, and I never want to feel like that again. And I wouldn't work for somebody who, you know, I thought would direct like that anymore. And I certainly wouldn't direct people like that, because I don't think there's anything productive to be gained from it. So yeah. So this is where I am. I'm enjoying directing.
Good.
I think probably after the play that I'm directing at the moment, I need to spend some time focusing on, because, you know, joking aside, you know, you need to dedicate time to writing. Yeah, well, and to the writing.
So I went to family there, because that was what I was, you know, there's all these different elements in life, isn't there? There isn't one, you can't do one thing, can you?
No.
Or you're going to drop the ball on the other things.
Absolutely.
You know,
and the thing, funny enough, when you asked me what are my 3 words, it's not really a word to describe me, but it's what, if you was to ask me what's important to me, right up there is family. Like, my family's quite small, you know, there's me, my girls, my mum, dad, my brother and his family, and we are incredibly close, you know, and I am so lucky. Like, gratitude, quite often in my gratitude reflections are, I took my nephews to their football match today. I go and watch them as much as I possibly can. And the mums say to me, my sister wouldn't come and watch, my brother wouldn't. And I'm like, I don't do it because I feel I have to. I do it because I want to. I want my nephews to grow up knowing that their Auntie Jo loved them so much that she'd freeze on the sidelines, you know, watching their football matches.
Part of their life.
Yeah. And, you know, I spend so much time with them, and none of it is, I've got to babysit the boys. Never. It's, yes, I'm getting to spend some time with my nephews. And, you know, I'm incredibly lucky to have that closeness, because not everybody does. No. And it shocks me when I hear about families that don't get on. I just can't. For me, that's a really hard thing to understand. And so I thank the universe every day that, yeah, we have our ups and downs. Of course we do. But yeah, that's the number one thing for me. And it's having that support of family that makes me feel I can do these things. You know, that we're such a support for each other. And my brother's not particularly sensitive or soppy or whatever. But I remember I think it was a thing on Facebook or something, which makes it even more unlikely that he would fill it in or whatever. But it said, family is, finish the sentence. And he said, everything. I'm like, yeah, he's right, you know. And he and I rely so much on our parents. And the support they give us is unwavering. You know, and I think that is really what makes us who we are today, and ultimately gives you that confidence to think, yeah, I can do this. You know, I'm going to get the backing, and
The impact,
They're going to believe
the
me.
impact that that's had on you
Yeah.
has propelled you forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Knowing that those key people in life are there for you no matter what is just, and I'm the same with my daughters. It's just there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. Absolutely nothing. And yeah.
That's wonderful.
There's my theatre family and there's my family. But yeah, there's always room for more family. But yeah.
That's really nice. Thank you, Jo. Thank you for being part of this as well.
Loved it, Martin.
Podcast. It's been really lovely catching up and hearing some of your journey. I've really enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed hearing about all your positivity and hopes for the universe. Asking the universe, and I was thinking about my final question that I've got for you, Jo. And I wanted to leave it on a positive note as we're being positive.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to look more to the future. So if you could talk to yourself a year from now, what would you say to yourself? When you're reflecting on all your hopes and dreams that you have right now, that you're asking the universe for?
Oh gosh,
it's a toughie, isn't it?
What would I say to myself a year from now? I'm proud of you. Well done. You did it. You've made a good start. I don't know. That's a really tough one, isn't it?
No, that was right. That was good. That was lovely.
Yeah.
That was lovely to come back to this. Come back to this final moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I come back in a year and talk about how? Because that's really going to hold me accountable, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I hope to be saying. I hope I'm not saying, "Come on, girl, pull your finger out." There's enough procrastinating going on.
I'm proud of myself.
I'm saying, blimey, look what you can achieve in a year. Like, that podcast was the start of something big. You got to dream big. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And that's been a big thing for me this year, concentrating on me. I've never done that in my life. I've never really been single since the age of 15. It's shocking, really. And I made that decision for it just to be me and my girls in July of last year. And without offence to anyone, like, it's the best thing I've done in such a long time. Like, I'm just focusing on me and my family and what I want out of life, And now I've got that extra capacity to think, I've got my evening to start writing, or BBC Maestro. I mean, that is such an amazing thing the BBC are offering. Yeah. And I'm currently I don't know what you call them, the lessons.
You have to pay for it, don't you?
You do. They're always doing like 40% off. And so I thought my gift to me this Christmas was sign up for the annual membership.
Okay.
Because I couldn't decide
how much
between.
Does that cost? Because I've been looking at, I looked at Masterclass.
Yeah, Masterclasses, that's it. So
no, because BBC do Maestro, but Masterclass is the American one.
Oh, okay. Right, I did not heard of that.
But Masterclass is very expensive. You're looking,
No, Maestro was with the whatever percent off, the annual fee was £70-something.
Okay.
And I think that's access to absolutely everything. There's acting gurus. There's Brian Cox is one of them. The one I'm reading at the moment, oh my God, his name's gone out of my head. He's incredible. He wrote Ted Lasso, which is just one of my most favourite things, and Scrubs. Oh my God, what's his name? Can't remember. Sorry, because I really hope to meet him one day, and that's inspiring. I think following things and listening to things that inspire you is so important. I've never been one for saying bury your head in sand, don't watch the news, but actually, it's so full of negativity, isn't it? And the more you fill your head with things like that, the more consumed you become with it. So,
100%. I've been there.
I don't want to be ignorant. I really don't.
You've got to find a balance between knowing what's going on in the world and doing your thing.
Absolutely. And
living your life.
And keeping focused. But yeah, Bill Lawrence. There we go. That's his name. I'm sure it is.
Check out Bill Lawrence.
Yeah. And so I'm ploughing through his Maestro courses at the moment. And, having that perspective of someone who's done it, it's like, he says anyone can be a writer. Anyone. You've just got to believe you can do it, do your research and get on with it. And, and he says, I'm a classic procrastinator. I'm doing this because it means I don't have to do any writing. And I think, yeah, I'm built for this. I can procrastinate until the cows come home. But, yeah, a year's time.
What skills are you going to use to help you not go to procrastination?
Gosh,
Have you got anything that's going to help with that?
Have you got any words of wisdom for me?
Well, when I've done writing, I've had a deadline.
Right, yeah.
A false deadline, not a deadline of, I'm going to do it by the end of February.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it by a date and just writing something in the diary. That's never worked. Actually putting on a production.
Right.
Actually committing to a date in the diary of a theatre.
Right.
Yeah. Finding you've got your space at the Hatfield Heath.
Yeah.
Actually put something down. Right, it's going to happen then. I'm going to put on a one-act play of this thing.
And then you've got to write it,
and then you've got to write it. You've got to start it. That's helped me.
Yeah.
The other thing that's helped me have writing time is to remove distractions.
Yeah.
And being a space where it's me, a notepad and pen.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
No phone.
No
TV. Yeah.
No TV. No radio. I can sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
I can choose to do nothing, or I can choose to write.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting place where the brain goes to when it will resist.
Yeah.
The first thing you'll do when the first day you do that, you get your pen and paper, you sit down in that quiet place, your brain will resist. But at some point you start being imaginative and then you can't stop it.
Yeah.
And I've done that and been in that quiet space for too long. But yeah, or maybe set a timer or something like that you guarantee you're going to be in a quiet space with no distractions for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've reached the point of thinking I can't do this on my own, because I need someone else to hold me accountable. I need someone else to say to someone else, right, by the end of this month, and put the actual date on it, 29th of Feb as it is this year, we're going to have written this and we're going to come back together.
Helps with two people. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can't turn up with nothing. It's like, I can't be the one who hasn't pulled my weight here. So, and just, even if it's the night before, because you know what it's like, you leave it to the last minute, it takes a minute, but then sometimes that's your creative time.
I thought I heard a door.
Might
Probably
be the
just
ghost. The ghost.
The ghost, yeah. We've got a ghost episode of this.
Have you?
Yeah,
I must listen to that.
Yeah.
Does she make it a point?
Well,
I
don't want to spoil it if you haven't heard it yet, but go check out a ghost story.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
I will.
And then I did a joint podcast with these guys called They do a Synchronicities podcast where they ghost hunt.
Right. Okay.
But they're also cosplayers. So
what players?
Cosplayers.
What's cosplayers?
You've not heard of cosplaying?
No.
Cosplaying is when you've got like a TV program that you enjoy and you create their world, you dress up like them. For instance, his thing was Ghostbusters.
Right.
Yeah. He dresses up as a Ghostbuster.
Are they the ones with the car?
They've got Ghostbusters. I believe they've got. I don't think they have, no, but some cosplayers do have a car. But they built from scratch the proton packs.
No.
And all the film replica weaponry and things. And
Wowzers.
That's what they enjoy spending their free time doing, cosplaying. And
amazing.
Yeah, it's quite a huge thing.
Never heard of it.
No, look into it.
Yeah.
Look into it. It's huge for creatives, cosplaying.
Yeah.
And someone tends to have like a niche thing. There's a lot of people that do like Star Wars cosplaying and all the big Star Trek.
Yeah, the cult stuff.
The cult stuff. But then there are people that go into niche areas like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Or Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And they take a film and they try and recreate it within their life.
Amazing.
Yeah, cosplaying.
COS.
COS, play. Cosplay.
Oh, I wonder what COS stands for.
Costume?
Yeah.
That's a good question. And anyone knows, tell us in the comments. Let us know.
Or we just Google it.
Or Google it. Yeah, that's not as fun though, is it?
It's not as fun. Google's ruined all that. You don't have to think very hard
That's
anymore,
really bad. I've had two cosplayers on the podcast now, and I haven't asked either of them that question.
What it means.
What does cosplay mean? Costume play, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what I'm going to go with, costume play.
Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds fun. It's funny you should say about ghosts, because that's what I'm watching at the moment.
Right.
The BBC
I've never watched it.
It's exactly that comedy, and then moments of you know.
Yeah, no, I do. A
yeah,
lot of people
really
tell
good
me
fun.
I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I've
watching.
worked with that lot on Horrible History. I did an episode of Horrible History.
Oh, really?
Yeah, still yet to come out. I did it like nearly like 2 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
And it's still not been out. I'm desperate to see it. I'm only in like one of the, you know, like how they have like a scene, a story. I'm in like one story.
Because Joanna Bacon does. She's done Horrible Histories, isn't she?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, she's someone that that may be on the podcast in the future.
Oh, you must get Joanna on. Yeah,
that'd
Jo.
be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't know me, I don't think. I mean, we've met and we've chatted at Heath Player
friend
things.
of Bernard's. Who
absolutely. And she comes and she's very supportive of the Heath Players because that's part of her roots.
So Jo's someone that was basically very involved with local amateur dramatics, but then often did it professionally.
Yeah, she's an inspiration because I started watching Breeders, which she's in on Sky.
Lovely.
Genius. Yeah. Again, Martin Freeman, fantastic.
Yeah.
And she is just phenomenal in that. Jo is just absolutely brilliant. You must watch it if you haven't seen any.
No, I haven't seen it. I will look into it.
Really good. Hard hitting in places. You know, about the struggles of parenting and just how stressful it can be. But loads of comedy. Yeah, really good fun.
Good. Wonderful, Jo. I think this has been really nice.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
I love all the positivity. I love where it's going. And we're definitely going to do this in a year's time.
Yes.
Catch up and hold you responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold you responsible accountable to yourself.
Is it the 27th today?
I have no idea.
It's my lucky number, 27. So who knows? So 27th of January.
So the 27th of January this time next year.
Right, let's book it in.
Lovely. Thanks again.
Thanks, Martin.
It's been wonderful.
It's been lovely.
Thank you. That was the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. I appreciate you joining us for this conversation. If you'd like to find out more about the BTS Creative Academy, just search BTS Creative Academy. And so that you don't miss out on any future conversations, don't forget to like and subscribe.